Nichelle Nichols also passed away as well. We got the news today, but she died Saturday. Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura, on Star Trek. We know that Star Trek was on from 1966 to 1969. The original Star Trek was only on for like 3 seasons, right? But it spawned all these movies, spin-off TV shows, the Star Trek convention, all types of things. Okay, Trekkies, billions of dollars in merchandising, all that came from a show that was on for 3 seasons. Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura of Star Trek, dies at age 89. We're going to go to clip 1 here in just a second, Jalen. She was among the first Black women to have a leading role in a TV series. She later worked in NASA, okay, to recruit minorities for the space program. Okay, here's a picture of her. And I remember watching Star Trek. I watched the reruns of it because I wasn't born. When I was born, I was born in 71, so it was off the air. But I remember watching the reruns of it. And that had some of the Star Trek action figures as well. But I remember seeing her on Star Trek. And I was like, wow, it's a Black woman in outer space. Nichelle Nichols, the actress revered for Star Trek fans, by Star Trek fans, and everywhere for her role as Lieutenant Uhura, the communications officer on the starship USS Enterprise, died on Saturday in Silver City, New Mexico. I've been in New Mexico, Silver City. She was 89 years old. The cause was heart failure. Said Sky Conway, a writer and a film producer, who was asked by Kyle Johnson, Ms. Nichols' son, to speak for the family. Ms. Nichols had a long career as an entertainer, beginning as a teenage supper club singer and dancer in Chicago, her hometown, and later appearing on television. But she will be forever remembered for her work on Star Trek, the co-inspiring space adventure series that aired from 1966 to 1969 and starred William Shatner, T.J. Hooker as Captain Kirk, the heroic leader of the Starship Enterprise. And we know Leonard Nimoy, who died in 2015, Mr. Spock, and DeForest Kelley as Dr. McCoy, aka Bones. They were all on that iconic show. A striking beauty, Nichelle Nichols provided a frisson of sexiness on the bridge of the Enterprise. She was generally clad in a snug red doublet and black tights. Ebony magazine called her the most heavenly body in Star Trek, on this 1967 cover. Her role, however, was both substantial and historically significant. We'll continue this other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right. Right before the break, we were talking about Nichelle Nichols, actress Nichelle Nichols, best known as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. Okay. And she passed away Saturday at age 89. Okay. We know she was ailing as well for some time. We're going to clip 1 here in just a second, Jalen. I want to go back to this article here from New York Times because there's a section here to get to something that's really, really important. And it deals with the image that she portrayed on Star Trek, which was a different image than what we were used to seeing oftentimes in media of African Americans, especially African American women. Her role, so Ebony magazine called Nichelle Nichols the most heavenly body in Star Trek on its 1967 cover. Her role, however, was both substantial and historically significant. Lieutenant Uhura was an officer and a highly educated and well-trained technician who maintained a business-like demeanor while performing her high-minded duties. Miss Nichols, Nichelle Nichols, was among the first African-American women to have a leading role on a network television series, making her an anomaly on the small screen, out of the ordinary, an exception on the small screen, which until that time had rarely depicted African-American women in any other roles than subservient roles, In a November 1968 episode, during the show's third and final season, Captain Kirk and Lieutenant Uhura are forced to embrace by their inhabitants of a strange planet, resulting in what is widely thought to be the first interracial kiss in television history. Now, when you research this, you'll see that the producers of the show, the network, wanted to have two scenarios so that they could air one down in the South, because they knew the segregationists in the South would object to this white man kissing this African-American woman. Now, Ms. Nichols' first appearances on Star Trek predated the 1968 sitcom Julia, in which Diane Carroll, playing a widowed mother who works as a nurse, became the first Black woman to star in a non-stereotypical role in a network series. Okay, a series called Beulah. Okay, Beulah, also called The Beulah Show, starring Ethel Waters as Beulah, and then actress Louise Beavers as Beulah, and then Hattie McDaniel also played Beulah on this show as well. We know Hattie McDaniel from the 1939 movie Gone with the Wind. She won an Oscar for playing Mammy in Gone with the Wind as well, actress Hattie McDaniel. Okay, in the TV show Beulah, these three African-American actresses portrayed Beulah, who was a maid for a white family. And this show was broadcast on ABC in the early 1950s. And it subsequently was cited by civil rights activists for demeaning portraits of African-American people. But Lieutenant Uhura's influence reached far beyond television. In 1977, Nichelle Nichols began an association with NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, contracting as a representative and speaker to help recruit female and minority candidates for spaceflight training. The following year's class of astronaut candidates was the first to include women and members of minority groups. Okay, the following year's class of astronaut candidates was the first to include women and members of minority groups. Okay, so read the rest of this here. I want to go to this. Let me see. We're going to the clip here. So her birth name was Grace Dale Nichols. Grace Dale Nichols. She was born in Robbins, Illinois, December 28th, 1932. Some sources give a later year, and she grew up in Chicago. I want to go to this interview here that she did, and she talks about how Dr. King kept her from quitting the show Star Trek. This is from Emmy TV Legends. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
By the end of the first season, I had so much fan mail that I didn't know I had that was in the mail room that they offered me a contract. I also was offered a role, a play to do that was Broadway bound. And I was going to leave the show and take that. And it was a good role. I forget what the heck it was now. And so I went in and told Gene I was going to, when the season was up, I was going to leave. And Gene says, you can't do that. Yes, I can. And he said, don't you understand what I'm trying to achieve here? I said, Gene, you've been wonderful. And I really thank you for this opportunity. But my life is theater, musical theater, and I'm getting offers for all kinds of wonderful things where I want to be. He was sitting behind his desk, and he looked up at me, and he said, and I handed him my resignation that I'd written out. And he took it, and I finally laid it on the desk, and he looked at it, and he said, take the weekend, Nichelle, because that's how I know it was either Thursday or Friday. And he said, and think about it. And if you feel the same way the beginning of next week, if you still feel that way, think about this. It's more than you think it is. Just think about it. And if you still want to go on by Monday morning, I'll give you my blessing. Go with my blessings. And he took the resignation and stuck it in his desk drawer. And I said, thanks, Gene. And I skipped out of there. Whew, that went better than I thought. And as fate would have it, I've always used this way because I believe in fate. I believe it was fated.
All right, we're going to pause it right there. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching the African History Network on Facebook, Michael Imhotep on YouTube. We're out of time here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. And then visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAHNShow.com. You can order my lecture dealing with the film Black Panther, register for my online classes. Also, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Those in Detroit, will see you at Obama weekend, Fridays, August 5th through Sunday, August 7th, over at Barack Obama Academy. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. Okay, stand by, everybody. Stand by. We're going to continue this segment, then we'll talk a little bit about Bill Russell also. Let's go back to this here. Okay, I want to go to let's go back to this. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this clip here from Nichelle Nichols, and she, at the end of the first season of Star Trek, she wanted to quit the show because she comes from the theater. Okay, she wanted to quit the show. All right. So Gene Roddenberry was the creator. The Gene she's talking about is Gene Roddenberry, who was the creator of Star Trek. Okay, that's who she's referring to. And also in her book that she released, she talked about having a romantic relationship with Gene Roddenberry as well. This is also in the article from the New York Times. Okay, let's go to this. Let's go back to this clip here.
It's more than you think it is. Just think about it. And if you still want to go on by Monday morning, I'll give you my blessing. You go with my blessings. And he took the resignation and stuck it in his desk drawer. And I said, thanks, Gene. And I skipped out of there. Whew, that went better than I thought. And as fate would have it, I've always used this way because I believe in fate. I believe it was fated. I was to be a celebrity guest at some fundraising thing in Beverly Hills. I believe it was an NAACP fundraiser, but it might not have been, but I think it was. And so I went to do this on that Saturday night, and I had just been taken to the dais and sat down when the organizer came over and said, Miss Nichols, how are you? And blah, blah, blah. And he said, listen, there's someone here who said he is your biggest fan. And he's looking chirpy, you know. And he said, and he's desperate to meet you. He really wants to meet you. And I said, oh, thank you. Now I know, lots of fan mail, and I've seen it, the shows, and they're being on for, and the ones that I got to see, because usually I didn't get home until after the show was over. I didn't see the most of Star Trek that I was in until the reruns. and I was on hiatus at best. So I said, certainly. And I stand up and turn, and I'm thinking, it's a Star Trek fan. He said, it's a Star Trek fan. I'm looking for a young man who's a Star Trek fan. I turn, and instead of fan, there's this face the world knows with this beautiful smile on it. And I remember thinking, whoever that fan is going to have to wait, because Dr. Martin Luther King, my leader, is walking toward me, not 10 feet away, with a beautiful smile on his face. And then this man says, yes, Miss Nichols, I am that fan. I am your best fan, your greatest fan. And my family are your greatest fans. As a matter of fact, this is the only show on television that my wife, Coretta, and I will allow our little children to watch, to stay up and watch, because it's on past their bedtime. And I said, it was all that I was able to say. My mouth just opened and closed. He said, we admire you greatly, And he said some more things, and the manner in which you've created this role has dignity and so forth. And he said, and before he said, I said, Dr. King, thank you so much. And then I got the courage to say, and I really am going to miss my co-stars. And he said, what do you mean? Dead serious. What are you talking about? I said, well, I've had an off. He said, you cannot. And I said, well, I'm going to leave Star Trek because I'm going to say have an offer to star in. I never got that far. I said, well, I'm leaving Star Trek. He said, you cannot. You cannot. And I felt like that little boy, Willis. What you talking about, Dr. King? But I didn't say that. No. But I was taken aback, and I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. He said, don't you understand what this man has achieved, is achieving or something? And I thought, deja vu all over again. I just looked at him. He said, for the first time on television, we will be seen as we should be seen every day, as intelligent, quality, beautiful people who can sing, dance, but who can go into space, who can be lawyers, who can be teachers, who can be professors, who are in this day, and yet you don't see it on television until now. And he went on, so many of the things, perhaps some of the things he said, but I could say nothing. I just stood there, realizing every word that he was saying was the truth. And he said, if you leave, Nichelle, Gene Roddenberry has opened a door for the world to see us. If you leave, that door can be closed, because you see, your role is not a black role. And it's not a female role. He can fill it with anything, including an alien. And at that moment, the world tilted for me. And I knew then, I didn't want to know it because I was going to go through some more turmoil for the rest of the week end. But I knew that I was something else, that the world was not the same. And that's all I could think of was Dr. King. Everything that he had said. The world sees us for the first time as we should be seen. And I remember being angry come Sunday or whatever. Why me? Why should I have to? Whatever happened come Monday morning, I went to Gene, and I'm not sure to this day if I knew what I was going to say. He's sitting behind that same dang desk. And he had, whoever he was talking to had to leave because I went there first. And I said, Gene, and I told him what happened. And I said, if you still want me to stay, I'll stay. I have to. And he opened his drawer and he looked up at me and said, God bless Dr. Martin Luther King. Somebody knows where I'm coming from. And I said, that's what he said in my brain. And he took out my resignation, which was torn into 100 pieces, and handed me the pile. And we just stood there looking at each other. And I finally said, thank you, Gene. And he said, thank you, Nichelle. And my life's never been the same since. And I've never looked back. I've never regretted it. Because I understood the universe had somehow, that universal mind had somehow put me there. And we have choices. Are we going to walk down this road or are we going to walk down the other? And it was the right road for me.
All right. So that is a fantastic interview. There's more. You can check that out on YouTube. This is METV legends, Nichelle Nichols, on how Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dissuaded her from quitting Star Trek. Okay, so you can check that out also. And the African History Network, the TheAHNShow, and the African History Network is a news reporting agency. So based upon copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair usage for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. All right, so check out the rest of the article from New York Times. A really good article on Nichelle Nichols. Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, dies at age 89. Okay, so this is that's a powerful interview. We've played that here on the show before, and I've known about that for years. That story dealing with Dr. King. But read this article here from the New York Times also.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
Hotep, everybody. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. And I want to give a special shout out to everybody who has attended the 11th annual Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. I just want to take a few minutes, and we had a great presentation that I did on Saturday. So I teach 2 online history classes. One on Saturday and one on Sunday. On Saturday, the class that I teach, normally 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And this is normally a 10-week online class. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We can't start studying our history in slavery. Even when we study the transatlantic slave trade, which is important to study, we can't start in 1619 or in the 1440s with the Portuguese, when the Portuguese get involved in the transatlantic slave trade. We have to understand the history chronologically and deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who entered into the Iberian Peninsula, today known as Spain and Portugal, from North Africa in 711 AD. When we discuss the transatlantic slave trade, we have to first understand that African people are the original people of North, Central, and South America, and have been in the land we call the United States at least 51,700 years. Now, the second class I teach is on Sundays, normally 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Now, these classes are normally $130. They're on sale right now, $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, so you can go back and watch it anytime. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you can go back and watch the entire class. With both of these classes, I would say the content is PG-13, so you can use this with your children as well if you want to. Also, you can advertise with the African History Network. We have 3 new advertising packages. Our current promotion is buy 1 month to get 1 month free. We have 1 million followers at our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. And with our platinum package, we'll take out ads on our Facebook fan page for you as well to help maximize your advertising campaign. And we take your 30-second to 60-second commercial, we put into the rebroadcast of our shows, and also into the audio podcast of our shows as well. We only have 20 advertising slots because we have a finite amount of advertising space. Email us at TheAHNShow@TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAHNShow@TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or call us 313-462-0003. All right, right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
STEM Forward, helping our community find their place in the emerging fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Join us for our monthly live stream on our website, stemforwardedu.org. Watch, subscribe, share. Also join our mailing list to stay up to date with STEM resources and opportunities. STEM Forward, the future is now. Watch, subscribe, share.
iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
IDO Network International, in collaboration with STL Black Woman, DACA, and ACTA, present the Royal Pilgrimage to the Americas, August 24th through the 28th. The African kings and queens are coming to you for business, networking, and sharing of Pan-African ideals. The venue will be the illustrious En Garde Arts Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. A royal cultural experience and exhibitions, trade and investment opportunities in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. A Royal Pan-African Summit hosting keynote speakers, and a red carpet banquet. Come and witness an African royal coronation ceremony. Register at www.idonetwork.org to book your ticket to wine and dine with African royalty. Vendor opportunities available. Get face-to-face with the royals who own the land and resources for business. Contact DACA for deal room information at 602-730-4572.